Hi everyone. I just wanted to take a few minutes to introduce this first panel of 1 Peter, and particularly the first major theme in the letter. Peter interweaves all of his themes throughout the letter, but he does seem to take particular care in putting one of them at the front, here. It seems like Peter's main point is something like this: keep your eyes fixed on the future. Be a future-focused people. Throughout the letter, he refers to his readers with a really unusual word. He says that they are exiles. Sojourners and exiles, strangers, people just travelling temporarily through this place. In fact, exiles in this life, in this world. It's as if he's saying, your home isn't here. Your home is in heaven with God, and you are waiting, journeying, if you like, to get there. Throughout the whole letter, Peter makes lots of subtle references to the book of Exodus in the Old Testament. And he seems to be trying to remind us of that story when the Israelites were away from their home. They were in a different country, in Egypt, exiled, waiting for God to rescue them and bring them to the promised land. Peter seems to be saying, that's a bit like what your life now is like. You are waiting to be taken home. In this first panel of the book, from 1 verse 1 to 12, Peter points them to be fixed and focused on their destination. We might often say, you've probably often heard it said, it's not about the destination, it's all about the journey. And Peter doesn't dismiss their journey. It comes up in this section, how they're grieved and suffering, how this is a difficult journey to walk. And later on the letter, in particular in the third panel, he'll take a lot of time to say this is how we ought to live. If this is true, if we are exiles in the world, then this is how exiled people ought to live. He doesn't dismiss the journey by any means, but at the beginning of the book he seems to focus squarely on their destination and where they're going. The journey as Christian exiles is fraught with difficulty, but the destination is so wonderful and kept so safe and assured that almost by comparison the difficulty of the journey fades away into the background. The destination is beyond compare. There are a few things that you might like to do as you look at this section. I just want to draw your attention to the images in the 1 Peter book. Particularly on verse 8 and verse 10, you'll see the theme image for this whole panel and then the section image for verses 3 to 12. I encourage you to take a look at those images and particularly to pay careful attention to how you feel as you look at them. That sounds like a really artsy question, but I think you'll see as you look that they conjure up quite different emotions. You might want to just compare and contrast those images. What's the difference in how they're making me feel, and how does that relate to the section that we've been reading? The second thing you might like to do is in your booklets to circle, highlight, underline the different tenses that come up in this passage. Peter seems to flit between the different tenses quite a lot. Beforehand, now, later, the past, the present, the future. Why is Peter doing that? What might his point be? The second thing that you could highlight, circle or underline are the different actions in this part of the letter. It's striking that in this whole panel, Peter doesn't once give a command. He doesn't say, and you ought to do these things. Nonetheless, there are a few different actions that happen. Who is doing them and what is being done? That might help you as you look through this section to think what's actually going on here. It might be worth asking, why doesn't Peter give them actions to do? What is he most concerned about as he starts this letter? And finally, as you've read through the whole letter, you'll have noticed over and over again he refers to their suffering, how difficult their life is, that actually they're being persecuted for their faith. In this beginning, he seems keen to point them to the future. Why is he doing that? How might that help his readers to stand firm? And how might that help us as we live as exiles in the world?